Okay, now we're recording and we can officially start.
Now that we're officially underway, anyone have any changes or questions for the agenda before we permit move on? Have a motion to confirm the agenda for tonight? Yes, here we go.
Second.
Wonderful, all in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is confirmed. Everyone had a chance to review the notes of the previous meeting. Are there any questions or adjustments to the previous notes? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve those and move forward. Wonderful. Second. Great. Wonderful. All in favor of approving the notes? Excellent. Thank you very much. I'll just say a brief bit about this in future meetings and how we are, our purpose in this group, which is outlined in the procedures document, is to play a key and collaborative role in this region planning process by providing input and assistance in examining community challenges and opportunities related to land use, in preparation of goals and strategies to implement a regional vision, and in recommending changes in zoning. Therefore, these meetings are primarily for our use as a work session and not the primary mechanism for the public to provide feedback on the region plan. Public feedback can be provided at the county's region plan website and community hub sites, along with future public meetings, but the public should be aware that if they submit written comments, they will be distributed to the committee members for review. If there are members of the public who wish to speak here tonight, there will be a limited comment period at the end of the meeting. That said, I will turn it over to the staff to get us started.
Great, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming. Good to see you all. Hope you all have a good holiday and are ready to get into it this new year. Tonight we will have a presentation first on talking about the transportation component of the region plan and needs in the region and that sort of thing. We have folks from the Office of Transportation, State Highway Administration, and then also virtually a colleague from the Department of Public Works. So they'll be talking about that, and then we're going to delve into the economy of the region, which is going to be a little bit brief, and I'm going to get us a little bit into some kind of targeted land use discussions that will just be an initial conversation tonight. So so this is generally the agenda for tonight. Then we'll get into public comments and next steps later. So where we are, just to kind of go over where we are in the overall process for the region plan process right now. We're in a series of topical meetings with you all, the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. So a lot of this is educational at this point. We're going to be working through some draft goals and strategies and starting to put together some items for input from you all first, and then we'll put it out to the public for some initial surveys and feedback from the public. And then we're going to get into land use discussions later on. I'm going to actually talk a little bit more about our schedule further out toward the end of the meeting. So I'll get into that a bit later. But of our topical meetings, this is where we're at now. So in our third topical meeting as a group. With regard to both the transportation piece and the economy piece, to kind of help shift our thinking into some of these, I want to share a little list of some of the things that we've heard thus far from the public, and this is it. Generally, obviously, traffic concerns are weigh pretty big, and impacts from 97 and Route 3 also. Concerns about traffic impacts from some of the large events that take place in Crownsville. Those can be very impactful when they're going on. The South Shore Trail does seem to have a lot of support. Specific concerns in some cases about safety of intersections and speeding. And then in terms of kind of shifting to the economic piece, small business development in particular, kind of local mom and pop types of stores and boutique type places. There seems to be a real appreciation for those. And then access to foods in the region. So we'll talk about those. We have a countywide framework that's set by the general development plan that already has a lot of strategies that apply countywide that address all of these. So I think tonight it'll be helpful to hear from you all. How do we make those really apply to Region 6? And how do we want the Region 6 plan to represent kind of implementing some of those things? So we already have strategies in the general development plan that support transit, support roadways and ameliorating roadway congestion, bike and ped connectivity. So I'd invite you to kind of think a little bit more specifically within the region to help us make sure that we have strategies that help prioritize areas for that within the region. So that would be the goal for tonight. And so from here, I will turn it over to Brian, and I'll let you.
Oh, can I make a quick comment?
Yes, please.
It's the state fair. The state fair is Meridian. I've seen state fairs around the, I think it's really,
That's a good point. County fair.
it'll just keep coming up, and yeah.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
state fair is
But it's not in Brownsville.
No, it is not. Not this thing, it's just a well. Yeah.
I appreciate your pointing that out.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, I got a slide deck, we'll run through it real quick. It's meant to talk about stuff, but also generate feedback. So just a quick kind of housekeeping thing, like Patrick talked about. I'm with the Office of Transportation, but we've got the state here, State Highway Administration, part of MDOT, so there's transit, east state highway, but of course, then Nestor, DPW. So Office of Transportation, we do transit operations and transportation planning. DPW does roadway operations maintenance. And again, Nestor has a specific role within DPW. So we don't know the answer. Get back to it. Cover that real quick. Wanted to hit the highlight here, starting kind of the same way as Patrick's talking about, like policy, higher level things that apply everywhere. The county has or moving Arundel, which is the transportation component of the general development plan, is got a high focus on safety. We've adopted, like state highways, adopted a Vision Zero policy, focus on reducing crashes, injuries, and fatalities. We started a speed camera program, those kinds of things, trying to do more focused on safety. Just maybe efficiency quickly where they're going. There's legislative efforts, both in the kind of technical side, I guess, like APF, like adequate public facilities kind of things, but also then legislation to address funding that the state is kind of working through to that bigger picture things, and then local and other local legislation like the try to do a frontage improvement bill and various things. As far as investment, the county has kind of stepped up. We've implemented a PTI fund, which is just a percentage of the sales of income tax that's going specifically to schools, public safety, and roads. I believe I know we get the roads piece, so that's what I think something. So the county is stepping up making that investment, and that's helped us leverage state funds where the states come, run out of maybe state dollars. They have federal dollars. The county putting up the local share and kind of getting more bang for our buck, as well as letting the state actually implement some of these projects. But again, CIP spending is kind of investment, is kind of a policy issue, and that goes back to legislation where the state is trying to find a replacement for gas tax with adequate funding. And then there's other policy issues that are high level that would then apply to your region. Like I think I saw somewhere about seeing historic roads That's a countywide policy, and how the county keeps it might be different here than in other counties. Affordable housing, redevelopment, that kind of thing, may have it. I don't think there's a TOD specific area of Brownsville or Region 6 or whatever, but, so those policy issues, though, try to direct growth or things like that are bigger picture issues that we're doing to address transportation. That may have a within the region itself. Let's see. So then going in, I do want to talk about that first. Too many things popping up. Anybody want to talk about policy things first, or questions about some of the things?
I just wanted to see if you had any comments about the fact that state of Maryland has a $3 billion deficit right now. And as we head into the new administration, there will also be federal funds. Every discussion that there is organization about.
Yeah, I mean, that's something we're keeping an eye on. The state and federal, obviously with the state shortage, that's where they kind of try to step up. Get further into it as we do some of the runway stuff. But yeah, it's obviously we're keeping an eye on, and that's where I said that legislation piece, any improvements that the county might want in roadways, it's probably going to take legislative effort, not just locally, but statewide, and then, like you said, federally too. All those investments, we need all three tiers to fund whatever, whether it's roads or something else, schools, whatever they. So it's definitely something everybody's keeping an eye on. Say nervously, but you know what I mean? Like, keep an eye on. And like I said, the PPI fund, it kind of came at a right time. We got lucky where the county had some extra money to kind of fill in those gaps. So it worked out in this case. And I know we got some resistance, maybe, well, why is the county spending money on state roads, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I don't think the residents care who. We can do that, it's probably fixed. But the bigger problems are on the state roads anyway, so.
Do you guys get access to that new plan at the federal level?
Yeah, we've been getting some money, not a big chunk.
That's bridge bill. And here it is.
But that was kind of separate, so that we didn't really speak for you, but that was good that it was a separate funding. So we paid for a lot of it. It's definitely something everybody's watching with interest, but to the state and federal side, federal TBD. But some of that stuff's already been passed and approved, so some of that federal money is safe. I guess. You can always check. Yep. All right, I'll jump into roadways then, real quick. Just go a little bit of mobility. Talk about other issues and leave it up to you to talk about roadways. I did a quick analysis here. There's census data, LEHD, kind of where people are commuting from and to, work to home commute kind of thing. You can see, we'll make this available for you so you can't see, but it's both people leaving the region and going to work, circulating within the region, or coming into the region to work. It's kind of surprising. Only 276 people stay within the region to work. Now, I don't think this includes telework. And then it kind of just shows you where they're coming from or going to. So that's just something you might have to look at more later. But it's just at a high level, most of the people, that either work in the area or leaving, still stay in the county or come from the county. From or go to. But that's just as an idea of where people come from and go to for work. As the county has access to Cat Lab, there's some probe data that tracks congestion and a lot of the things that you see data on congestion. You'll see now more impacts to travel speeds than data collection and speed just for the cell phone data or other electronic data. I ran this analysis for 2024, kind of surprising to me, maybe not to you, but this was the top 10 bottlenecks in the county from January 1st, 2024 to December 31st, 2024. This is ranked specifically by this base impact, which I believe is kind of the cumulative skewing. So you can see like total delay is hours of delay. So you can see on the far right that, and the reason I bring this up is, 178 is two of the top 10 in the county. But not from a total delay, so not the total number of cars, but the total backup.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, you know, think about, yeah, I think, yep. But, I was kind of a little more surprised about the south.
Is this available on the shared drive?
I will, yeah, did I send this, or you had access to it?
Yeah, we haven't put it up yet.
Yeah, so Patrick will get it. But, and we can run this analysis. You know, the MPO, the Baltimore region does it at a higher level, you know, most of the impact you see like 95, comes up at 50, but you know, it's kind of, you know, local roads coming up high is a little surprising. Speaks to me,
That's 17 million hours?
huh?
That's 17 million hours?
The total delay, I've got it might be weighted.
Is that like seconds?
Yeah, there's a whole data sheet on, I can get you the specifics on what that actually, it might be user hours. And again, there's a factor of, you know, they have pro data, so it's not every car, but they've been multiplied by estimated traffic on the road, things like that, so yeah. But it is pretty significant, I'd say. So I thought that was interesting, didn't want to share that. You know, you go use that. First, I need to have a Vision Zero dashboard. The county has a kind of crash, say map, but you know, there's where areas are problems area. You can filter by fatalities, by mode. So this is kind of just looking at the Region 6 area. I believe there's one fatality, maybe one or two fatalities in this area for the time, which I believe is 2019 to 2023. So maybe a little bit less serious injuries and fatalities in this area versus some others, but also there's less traffic, less total trips, miles. So obviously a percentage, so that's to be expected as well.
And this dashboard is publicly
It's
available.
publicly available, yep, and there's a lot of data you can kind of store and filter.
On the W website, right?
Maybe on both, I think it's on ours and Nestor websites as well.
It's interesting. Wow.
Dig in. And then I just pulled this from a kind of presentation we gave based on the priority letter. So the high priority projects, two of the higher priority projects here, Route 3. I don't know if it's technically in region 6, but I believe part of it is, and it certainly has an impact. And then I-97 similarly is a high priority project within the region. So we are
Widen it.
yeah, so for 97, the original request or study was to allow hours. But as we got into it, or I say we, really the state, as the state got into it, they found there was a lot of safety concerns, and remember Kim bringing these up the shoulder, and so they didn't want to make it less safe. Speaking of safety being a priority, not just for us, but also the state. Hey, let's not do this, spend a lot of money and make it less safe than it already is. Let's go ahead. And so in order to do it, we need to do it right. So instead of part-time shoulder use, it's going to be a third full lane. And so that should have a big impact on congestion, not just on 178, but also 3 and 2. Should.
I mean, it's gonna allow a whole lot more cars to be congested on the same road, you know, you've got the signs behind it, so the induced demand is gonna be full before we even finish construction. You're gonna spend 10 years building extra lanes, get it built, it's gonna be full again, and it's gonna be, where are you gonna stop?
Well, right, but part of the issue is not north of here, 97 is 3 lane direction. And then you have 2 highways coming together. East, we've got 4 lanes going to 2. So it's kind of, part of it is kind of filling in this.
What region did you study? Did you look at just Anne Arundel County, or did you look at Route 95 and 295? Because we are the overflow for Route 95 and 295.
Well, and for this particular project, look at the Tisma system, it is 3, 2, 50, 97. Not sure if there's another one in there, but it did look at a region. It didn't look at 95, 295, but there is a separate one for that. But you know, all this is part of the statewide model, and so it's entered into a statewide model.
The trouble is though, if you don't look at 295 and 95, when you look at travel trips between DC Baltimore or through Maryland, the quickest route is supposed to be the Interstate 95, but the quickest travel time is always up Route 50 to 97. Because once you get 295 and 95 up to capacity, or even close to capacity, or craft or anything else, where do they go? They go up 97.
Are you suggesting they should expand it 2 lanes?
No, I think they should expand 95 and 295 and keep traffic on the interstate and not to our county. That's what I'm suggesting.
But right
And
now,
I
they
think that's in traffic.
going up 3 and 2. Yeah, they
I think the problem. Well, in general, where we are.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people I know, not to throw anybody under the bus, but you know, people that are leaving from here going up that way, go up, you know, the back way. You know what I mean?
I mean, you could meter the lights on General Highway to discourage people taking it, because if the trip suddenly takes longer on General Highway, they may or may not learn to take an alternate route. But, you know, at what point does your warrant get transit required? Because, you know.
I don't think they can expand 295, it's a historic road, so they can't
So
expand
they can,
that.
I mean, look,
So,
we're at
one way or the
95
other.
is at what, 6 or 8 lanes now, and that's not doing it. So, you know, when are we gonna get an alternative to putting more and more and more cars on the road? It's, I
It's
mean,
all, I mean, it answers to all of it. I mean, based on our master plan, it does need more. Traffic. It does. Yeah, you just need more options.
Well, you have, as you showed, people aren't working where they live. Everyone. Everybody needs to see everything. All right.
no transit.
No, right, no, exactly. Like, you're right. I mean, alternative transportation is 1, and 2, it's just a lot of development in other areas. You know, having to go where they're going, and they don't work where they live.
I think when your system of analysis is after so many trips, throw in another lane, the answer is always gonna be throw in another lane, because you're always gonna have more and more cars. It's always gonna fill up. So once it's 6 lanes, all of a sudden the study's gonna say incomplete. It's never gonna be a point where you get enough. So I just don't, you know, this has happened in so many other jurisdictions where they've added lanes and added lanes and added lanes. Look at Los Angeles. You know, used to be a 2-lane road, now it's a 20-lane road because it's not enough. You need another lane, you need another lane.
There has to be a place where you start. And adding another lane on 97 while you're also looking at extending the metro or doing other options might be a possibility. There's you have to start at some. I think that carpet all the way down.
What's the, I'm just saying, I got, it's the solution if we can move the master out to riding more buses. And electric. This is a much bigger picture of the leadership. I did, most of us is doing it. Seems like of all the places on 97 that we internally identified as one of the on the map, there's 32. What's like the timeline? for this, and is this already funded or the 97 project? Yeah, so the 97 project right now is, non-funded for construction this time. So it's in design, but it's not yet.
So, yeah, it's at 30% design, it's been completed, state is kind of out of money, local match money, finished the design. The county's trying to figure out how to come up with that local share finished design. And so we're hoping to get that either this year or next year with the budget. That would put the design is about 2.5 years, 2.5 years to be completed is what I heard the latest. I heard about 2.5 years to get it completed. They would start right away in utilities before that to go after this. So I don't think that would extend years or something like that. Wouldn't make a whole other. Not supposed to be after that. So probably around 3 or 8 plus years before the construction would start. If we get the funding right away, and that would be the local funding. Federal money is there, local share is not. And relatively speaking, not my money, I guess, but relatively speaking, the county has to come up with 10% for a project like this. I think construction has to $10 million for this project. Bank is trying to cover the $10 million. That's just my opinion.
When you look through the county's approved adopted transportation, hospital, don't buy the funding. It says leader ramps at the top and bottom and don't buy. So now there's the project in place, and the opposite of what was approved in the county's notes.
That is true, but it did call for HOV or hot lane or some kind of managed lane, additional lane.
It's just opposite to what is transportation. Are there any projects like trains, regional, other things besides cars that you guys are looking at?
What's the design progress of the rural transit?
Yeah.
So all those, we'll get those in a minute, but yeah, we're under, so, Odenton's further along. We are probably at 90% design, it's the integrated permit, so train station, the garage. In the wings, it should begin in 26 construction.
Is that gonna just make the parking lot that's existing now, just the parking structure, right?
It's gonna make a parking structure.
Overflow lot.
I think there is some increased parking, but not a significant amount. But it will allow is housing to be built on the rest of the 30 slot. And so to the point somebody brought up trying to like locate people for the transit, so we don't have to get a car drive them. Some people will be able to hop on.
There's already some there, right?
There is some housing there, and of course there's plans for more, and so, you know, again, that's, you know, the county is investing in Bridge Street road network in Odenton to kind of encourage more development here as well. So we are doing other things, and starting with roadways, I guess, we do have transit investments coming out as well. Like we are investing.
So South Shore Trail would allow people to ride their bikes to the train?
Ultimately, you will be able to get to the train once all the pieces are built.
Okay, so I'm just looking at that, and thinking, oh, that's an alternative, people could take the train. And ride their bikes.
That'll be all.
Mark Bramwell really does want to.
Yeah. You said that the design is only a third of the way, but is there an indication of what the widening does to that 178 entrance and exit?
There is a plan. I don't know if and when we're gonna go out there, probably pause because they don't have funding, so probably if we get the funding, they'll be coming out with public meeting.
Yeah. They've done I don't know it off the top of my head, but they've done traffic analysis to show significant improvement. As Brian was saying, you know, part of the problem, also thinking about going northbound, is that if you're coming east on 50 and we want that traffic to go up 97, we don't want that to go up Route 3. We want them to come over 50 and go up 97. when you go east on 50 and try to go north on 97, you get added in on the left in the fast lane. And then you're like uphill almost all the way to 32. So as trucks are entering in the left and it's very sluggish, now you end up with trucks in both lanes and it chokes everything. So, a significant improvement in the corridor once this gets out of this down, bottleneck as well, would come off of 32 and get on to South 197. Really do have like 4 lanes trying to 32 all at once. So they have traffic data that shows what the travel time is now.
Have we looked at metering of the traffic before it gets to 97, like drop a lane that's coming in? So,
No, we didn't look.
if that would say, the biggest problem when 32 and 3 come into 97 is you've got 4 lanes coming into 1 or 2. So you've got 2 lanes coming on 32, 1 lane coming in off Route 3, and all 3 of those are trying to merge onto the 1 lane and shift over onto 97, and people are shifting back on the exit ramp. So that's a big part of the delay that's created at that, and it's at a bend in the road. Cause a lot of the problem. Which, and that wasn't a master plan, fixing that, addressing those problems. How cars merge on when they get onto the highways, cause a lot of the delay.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head where it comes in, but I think it comes, when it starts at 50, it goes further, just tying it in. It goes, kind of extends a little bit to where it fixes the merge here. Not on here, I know we fixed, or the state addressed some flooding issues on 450, which I know it's closed, that has been impacted as well. Something for that.
What was the parole transit?
Oh, sorry, there's a Pearl Transit Center, that's being built, it's in design, we were trying to build it at the mall. We couldn't, the mall was being sold, so we couldn't reach an agreement at the mall, so we're going to put it at the Harry Truman Park and Ride. And so, still working on it,
Darn it.
state, but,
That's so much better at the mall.
but, so we're working on that, it's under design,
That would
the
be like,
consultant said 18 months, but we're trying to speed that up.
what is it, like a road?
No, just a bus hub, a bus hub.
It's gonna do what?
Very tricky.
Park and ride.
That's the perfect right now there. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's hard to get to.
That's really not against it.
It'll still serve, well, depending on the bus, the bus still serves the hospital. So maybe we'll pick it up, something else. Then some other roadway issues, I know, obviously there's event issues, in the past, the fairgrounds, we talked about the flood at 450, Brownsville Hospital, I'd say redevelopment of the county, part of that, developing it, so there will be some potentially be some road issues there as well, as far as developing that. And then, as we saw with the queuing, at Westgate Road, I know we've been wanting to maybe get a second left there or something to kind of address that back up, at some point. Got that one. Double up. To help, I don't,
Yeah.
that's an easy.
Like a big bubble.
I think the easier to make it, people would go up general highway instead of 90 or something.
So I understand general highway gets congested, but it's to our benefit to keep it congested, to keep all cars off of our local roads and on the major highways. So, there's a delay for me getting home because I have no choice but to take that road.
Well,
But
I
I'll
think
take
rush hour is going, north and out of. So it sounds. Are you talking about morning rush hour? I'm talking about any time of the day. I mean, it's expanding roads, generally speaking, that idea. And General Highway is kind of at capacity as a two-lane road. And you've already got like the two lanes merging into one once you're through the intersection. So, you know, how far are you gonna chase them? Are you gonna widen it to 4 lanes all the way up to the veterinary center, up to four? You know, I think it's okay.
This is just.
What protection does it have? It is very old. In my minute. Yep. It's not a violation of the law, but you guys, they would have to go.
There's a waiver, right?
If you look at the scenic historic law,
Yeah.
it says to protect the view shed. It doesn't say keep the road narrow. It says protect the view shed.
There's always mitigated things.
And once the view shed. A road, which I don't know.
But I do think there's a desire to kind of
That's not.
maintain the character along General Highway, and certainly widening it would compromise that historic character. So I think there are some agencies that would have, you know, some comments about that, yeah.
I think your point is once you start winding it in one spot, it opens road.
I think the word is the turn lane, though, right? That's what we're talking about.
I just brought it up.
And you're talking specifically of Beskin.
Yeah, that's what is the best thing, is one of those things.
I don't know, there's 2 lanes turning on to safer than 1 lane. You're gonna get people crossing over. More opportunities for cars getting around.
I do think this is very crucial, but also I've heard you say about 5 times, Brian, that you're gonna get to that. And so I was just wondering if as a group, we could allow to move along, because you might be touching on things that we're talking about now, out of curiosity.
Yeah, I mean, so this is roadway, I got transit bike day coming up. The only other thing about roadway, I was just curious if, I know in the past, 450 at Brownsville got congested and backed up, it's hard to turn. So I think that's still, you know, that was fine. Compared to, I don't know if that's still. So those kinds of things where you might do spot improvements instead of massive, you know, widening, those kinds of things that, you know, they're on our radar, but these are the projects we're working on, but those things we're aware of, you know, for whatever reason.
Have you guys done traffic studies or moving on of like during COVID and now as people like?
There have been a number of,
back to-
using that INRIX software,
Yeah.
kind of delay and changes in speed patterns, times, the time of day. And I don't know if it's just in COVID or in the rise of delivery services.
Ah,
that kind of thing.
got it.
There's been some more, shifting traffic than traffic. Kind of we're probably 90% back, a lot of roads.
Yeah, I think a lot of folks are going. I'm curious if you saw that.
Just quickly, but it mentioned Brownsville Road and 450. The signal improvements they made a few years back helped a lot, helped a lot. It's still, you know, it doesn't get congested, but the signal, especially adding left for them.
Transit real quick, just, I'll go again, high level, kind of, what if the county offer, one of the reasons we bring this up is because a lot of times we've got people who know the county offers, so hopefully we're doing a better job, like, getting the word out. So I want to go real quick and then zoom in for a little bit. So, from a high level, the county is investing in transit, you know, we aren't just flooding it, we're investing in transit. We're investing in stations to Mark, Pearl Transit Center, Arundel Mills, kind of bus stop hub improvements. We're trying to develop an ops facility, to maintain our fleet and expand our fleet charging. We're investing in stops, upgrading signs, and adding filters. We've added technology where you can kind of see where the bus is because we don't run super frequently. So, you know, we don't want to outside waiting to see where the bus is. Oh, I still got 10 minutes. I don't have to worry about trying to get there. And then we tried to optimize our services, added some routes that I'll get into, you know, modified and optimized them. And then we've been fare free since before, COVID, since 2018, we've been fare free. To encourage transit usage. And in the chart, again, you can see it later, but the blue line is 2020, and then the green, yellow, orange, red are each subsequent years. So our total ridership keeps growing. We've done a good job of that. Both by expanding services, but I feel very proud of the suggestion.
Only cost, but
This is, yeah, for us, it's fun.
What's the name of it or what kind?
Anne Arundel County, what is it, I don't know, Office Transportation.
It's not like an
So there's a Passio app that, and the transit app will have us on there. Passio is the one where you can track the real time, PASSIO. And then Pingo, and I don't know how to use it, but Pingo is an app where you're trying to use for all drive services. So we're trying to get, in the century. And invest in technology. And then, so we do have, countywide, general care transit. This is for elderly and disabled. This is anywhere in the county to anywhere in the county, and actually, I think 6 places in Baltimore City. And maybe, I'm not sure, but there, this is, for, people that can't get there another way. You can call ahead, I believe it's 2 days in advance, schedule a ride. This is for like trips and that kind of thing. And again, it's countywide. You got to reserve, it's limited seats, but you can reserve a ride and get a ride where you're going if you meet qualifications. And then we do have fixed route on the right is our updated system map, kind of a big loop around the county. And we added the silver, it's also been sort of rebranded the 208. We're trying to add we adopted routes from Annapolis, from RTA. And so they all had these different naming conventions, and some were colors and some were numbers, some had names. So we're trying to standardize that as well. And so, but we added this route to Crownsville into Parole. So and it's this year. This year. It might have been September, and at earliest it was in the summer. I think and so it's pretty new, and our website, we're still working through some kinks on some of the app stuff.
Would that route through the new Pearl Transit Center when that's built ultimately?
Yes. Yep.
But who would be riding it?
So our primary, for the Crownsville route,
Yeah. I was a little.
I think it's associated with the redevelopment, so we wanted to start it now and there are some government agencies that are like people like Lake House Shelter, there's some services up there too that people can work at from.
The northern terminus, the hospital?
I believe so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
That's the intent, and then of course.
Does that, does it be like a parking lot there, or how does that shape up? Or park there, or walk there, or bike there?
You can, right, yeah, I think it's to hit the services, the county services that are offered there, and state services, as well as, yes, if you're in the area, drive.
They're gonna be like a parking, okay, well, there's already.
There are parking lots together, I'm not even sure where the main hub is located, but we will probably make a hub.
It'll be different by quite a large degree.
It will be, right, yeah, exactly.
There's a big state building out there that's got a lot of employees at Crownsville Hospital. One of the council meetings with one of the Crownsville Hospital park meetings. Because it's like a 4-story building.
So that's and there's the, I don't know if you can see it either, the app, I think that's the Passio app, this track bus. You can see where it is. And then we do have a call and ride service. Again, this right now, we just have North and South counties. And the Pingo is only for the South County. But we're trying to give it times, and you can call ahead. This is 2 hours in advance. This is open to anybody for any reason. And even kids with parents permitted to ride, but I don't know, it's 4-3 or whatever. And so this is, you know, call and ride service. We tried Fixer out in South County, and there's not enough people, and there's not high density in the corridor, so this kind of covers all of South County. We had such success, we expanded it a little bit to North County as well.
Is it free or is it?
It is free.
Like a shuttle, it's pretty, do they Uber and then, probably just in there for one and a half, one like.
Well, it's supposed to be a shared ride. We'll pick up other people depending on, you know, it depends on who calls and where they're going. So you might get a personal ride, or you might have to deviate somebody else out.
Okay, but it looks like an airport shuttle.
It's the county bus,
The green one,
well, the ones that are wrapped look like that. The old ones just white, have a county logo on the side. But yeah, it's a smaller kind of shuttle bus. We do have a couple bigger buses like, but most of them, yes, and we do have some electric.
What's the limits on distance?
What?
Sorry, limits on distance, like to take you anywhere in the county?
Anywhere in the zone. So anywhere, from anywhere in the zone to anywhere in the zone.
Wow.
And then the idea, so I bring that up just to bring up the fact that we do have a plan to cover the county with these call and ride zones. And then the idea would be you can use that call and ride zone to connect to a fixed route, and then that will take you to the hubs. So you can make local trips, or then if you're trying to connect to something, you can connect to it. So that ultimately, you know, anybody in the county going anywhere in the county, get a ride if they need to. And primarily right now, that's our market is, you know, people don't have a choice. That they need to ride for whatever reason, they need to transit. So that's primarily who we are. We'd like to get to where we get choice riders who off of that, but we do need to increase our frequency for that.
so is all county transit free?
All our counties, yep, it's free. Yep.
Well, this, our taxes, right? Nothing's free.
But and part of the rationale was at the time we had, you know, we converted a lot of our we had senior transportation, some of those buses that were sitting around, to offer it up to everybody. But then the investment it would take to add, you know, fare boxes and have to pay somebody to collect it and all that stuff. For the amount of riders that we had at the time and the cost that was collect, you wouldn't be making, you'd just basically paying to collect. But so that might deter more people, encourage people. So
Each of the 100 million you're looking at spending on adding 2 lanes to 97.
Yep.
Years for that.
So I don't know if there's any other transit issues you want to bring up. I know there's not rail here, but you know, talking about extending rail for Annapolis or something like that. But you can see the costs. If you look at the purple line, or you know, they talked about the red line in Baltimore, you see the cost of those, the cost to extend rail. If you look at, we had somebody on our transportation commission look at rail to the beach, but rail over a Bay Bridge, try to get a corridor for rail on the bridge. But if you look at the cost, they're just so high right now. And I would love it, but unless there's a big enough support for, you know, statewide, that
Has anyone looked at rail from Route 50 Annapolis to DC? Because I know there's been like national news stuff about the lack of transit between the state capital and the nation.
yeah, I mean, that's something that, you know, personally, we've talked about. I mean, we've had studies in the past, we had the regional model with the board this year that they looked at. But just, you know, they've been trying to get from, say, DC Baltimore.
Yeah.
Right now, they're open. Right to the University of Maryland this weekend. I couldn't believe it. It's connecting, you know, the metros like the Spider to this way, which is great. Because now you have to go this way and then out another way. You know, it would be more encouraging to people if you thought you could get to the Bethesda, it would take 3 hours and 15 and, you know, 25 stops on that, right? Okay. So it's going in the right direction. Now it's for the capital.
I will say that, we have been, I don't know that it got reading, so we did have a lot of buses that came into Crofton at least. that have been sent back. A lot of so we were more tied in with bus. There was, at one time, there was bus service from Annapolis to, New Carrollton. And then they got cut, and they got picked up by a private company, and then also went away. We do have that, I don't know if I have a regional, in our transit development plan, which we just adopted, we do have some regional transit, we do have transit going up 97. We do have transit going to New Carrollton as a regional route, whether that's us, or we probably think maybe MTA should be running the regional transit, but we do have it in our plan. You know, we did at one point talk about running a service, kind of like the young transportation service to New Carrollton. It's still in our it's in our short, the TDP is a 5-year plan, it's in there. But you know, there's several things in there, you can see several things, so we probably do the call and rise for the county first, but we've talked about, we've got us location at New Carrollton, they said that they, you know, this is the bus they would use, so we do have that option, and we thought about adding, as maybe, you know, a peak hour run. Runs at night, not as a mass transit, but just to offer, again, for those people that don't have a choice, there might be enough to, you know, offer that service.
Or maybe people that want to join.
I would rather, yeah.
So,
I would take that.
Well, I
We're
would-
paying $5.
Well, we have budget town halls coming up, so if you think you want to fund it, or they might have already happened, but I think the virtual, when was the last person?
is this the same plan that's in the general development plan, or this is a different?
The transit development plan is our short-term transit plan. It's a kind of component plan for our larger transportation plan, and of course, the transportation element of the general development plan. So they're all kind of like nested in each other. That makes sense. It's council adopted, you know, Patrick can share the later. Really what it is, the proposed routes, and if there's something you want funded, feel free to ask for it.
Just wanted to comment, over time, New Carrollton's gotten rapidly developed, and I'm not sure if it's commercial and residential or public developed. But you know, there used to be ample parking, prior to the telework. And it didn't exist. And then it was, you know, a crisis because it was coming up with several parking, and then when people started to have flexibility in their schedules and work remotely, it eased up a little bit. Now with COVID, I know they already have these construction projects in anyway, but after COVID, I don't know what I'm gonna do. If this administration comes in and orders everybody back to work, it's gonna be a very big problem for the public transportation because they use the parking lots as, you know, prime real estate. And when you're at the end of the line, you can command a much higher price. Because you can get right into Washington in 2020. I'm just saying, so it's almost
Yeah,
like, it's almost like we have a point where we have a shuttle, they take us to leave. Everyone, to get on those trains, get on them. I have a few parking there.
Two giant runs.
No, like I get there by 7 and I'm already on like 4.
Wow.
It fills up.
Yeah, I leave my house at later than 5 o'clock.
Thing. But I would love to take it if you had like a bus trip.
And that's how I got to college, when I went to college, and the bus from here to there, and the free shuttle to the university. $1 each way. Wow. $1 each shuttle to Maryland till is free, and it's $1. Can't do that anymore. And that bus was.
Bike ped, talk about bike ped real quick. So again, we've got a plan. Here's the development plan, we have a bike ped plan, walk and roll. Part of the transportation master plan. We have a bicycle advocacy group that likes to tout the Arundel County Trail Network, and so bad for that, quick and in our issues. So in our bike ped plan, which primarily was more of a bicycle, adding bicycle improvements plan. These are the high priority projects in Region 6. And you can see a lot of it is trail improvements just, you know, like, it's limited areas. So like that blue shaded area was further study. We didn't have the resources to study every single road in the county. It kind of, the spine network we developed for the county and the high priority projects is kind of what we're so here's the trail network, I'll say. You know, so Rec and Parks has a trail system. Some of it's used, you know, sometimes it's used for transportation, sometimes it's used for recreation, by bikers and walkers, for both. And so some of this they maintain, some of this the DPW maintains it's along the roadway. But this is kind of the spine network, that we're trying to get in North County, and you can see, this is what we presented to the state in our priority letter. We've got projects, so the dark blue is existing, and then we've got planned, spine, and we've got projects associated with almost all of it, in some shape or fashion. Most of them are in design, but, you know, a lot of them have construction funding as well. So kind of missing our one missing gap as far as on the planning side and design side is kind of getting from the Naval Academy Bridge up to the B&A Trail. So that's kind of our next chunk as far on the planning side of getting done. But a lot of these are in the works. A lot of these projects take a while. But hopefully in the next, 5 years, you'll be seeing a lot of this built. So that's kind of our priority, is building spine network first. But we do things like Safe Routes to School is a high priority issue. I think it's built now the Valley Road, Rolling Old Elementary School sidewalk. We've got some requests for that. So little projects here and there that we can do, and filling gaps. A lot of it associated with schools, trying to develop town centers and doing sidewalk improvements or other improvements. Pretty like that as well.
One thing I thought of after we had the Brownsville master plan presentation, I went to Charlottesville, on one of the kind of like main roads that the campus, such like a bridge, like a pedestrian bridge. So I didn't know if like, kind of like the mental hospital development, like the hub or whatever we're calling it on the street, like maybe to have a pedestrian bridge over general, I don't know if anybody has an idea with like sidewalk. So like you could maybe park at the mental hospital or go over the road, walk that, like it's like nebulous who's in charge of that whole thing, but just
we talked about, I mean, not here specifically, but we talked about bridges in several locations. Route 2 near Community College, we looked at Route 3, how to get southward trails across Route 3. Part of the issue with bridges, though, is especially in more urban areas, you've got to do a lot to restrict crossing of the street, because then when you put the bridge in, then people don't expect people to be crossing, and you'll have even more fatalities because there'll be less people crossing. But so then you don't expect them people going higher speeds. So then you'll see like fences down the middle of the road to try to discourage it.
I don't think there's any pedestrian crossing there now. I feel like it would be a bad idea to start. I mean, so I'm just thinking.
Yeah, and I'm saying generally for the amount of money, where you do have a lot of crossings, then you want to go ahead and make the road and try to make it safe that way. But it's certainly an option for a campus type setting that is more probably. But I don't know, maybe less like pet issues here. I don't know. The Rec and Parks is doing the South Shore Trail. I just saw a plan, so assuming it's going to come out for the public pretty soon for one of the South Shore Trail phases that goes all the way down to the roll. So I don't know exactly what but they're in the works. So ultimately, that will get built. I think it's all money in the program, the CID program. So they're working on that. It's kind of response to the future services that trail system. And then we just have to work with people to that trail. I think that's all I had, but if there's other questions or comments about transportation.
Just a quick question. Do you guys manage all the parking downtown? The parking garage?
We don't manage parking, downtown the city of Annapolis, we talked about, so we're building the garage at Odin's. Part of the Odin's Township master plan, or maybe the parking study, looked at developing a parking system in Odin's itself. Maybe putting parking garages in quadrants, and that would allow, instead of every development having to come up with their individual parking, shared parking, just like in Odin's. And then we talked about, maybe in parole, needing the same similar kind of thing, because there are some small parcels that, they probably can't provide enough parking on their site and still develop, maybe more densely like we want them to develop. So I said, we internally have talked about, so there's kind of a push for that. In more detail. Odenton did it, and there is some recommendations, but right now we're just building that first garage. See how good it is.
I was just curious what things.
Yeah. I think we managed Whitmore might be county, but most of them.
City, I know City of Annapolis, a lot of the existing homes don't have parking. And they have, I suppose they still do, they have like parking, you can buy parking at one of the garages or something. If you live in if you live in the city and you don't have anything, you can pay extra and get stuff.
I was just curious because eventually, around the hospital or anything, when there's becomes like public parking, there's a lot of. I'm just curious about the management of those parking structures about public, because like different vendors in the public parking spaces.
Is it gonna be paid or? No, Odington.
No, Odenton right now is gonna be free.
Oh,
Right. Well, that was part of the issue, both political side of things, but also system. So the MTA or whoever makes decisions kind of talking about, instead of doing it one project, they look at it system wide. They implemented that system.
I mean, just getting back to what you said about like the frequency, getting the frequency of transit up. I mean, when you're connecting to like Odenton, Mark Station, the train stop at 9:00 at night. I mean, that hurts. When you're trying to do anything other than commute to and from work, then kind of some, and then there's many trains and stuff, so it's not just locally the frequency of trains, it's frequency of transit is an issue.
Right. And that's the steering track. Dedicated passenger track, which is what the NAC is talking about.
We should
So
just
what
put
are you
in
looking-
high-speed rail from Annapolis and DC.
What are you looking for?
So these are the issues we've
Yeah, you-
identified, things we're working on. But what are we probably can't do all of that, you know what I mean? I mean, we're working on every, different components, but, prioritization, could they bring up issues or anything we're missing, what are we, should be working on? And then prioritization, should we not fund 97, we should invest in rails? So that's, that's like, what does the community want? The community doesn't want, Federal Highway wide, right? So, but what else what do you want, or what, what should we? That's what we.
We talked a lot about cars, but one quick, we didn't talk much about pedestrian, like, does anyone else think?
There's one thing that I think.
Pedestrian.
More and more places.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right. You have a lot of peninsula communities,
Yeah.
and the South Shore Trail would be wonderful, but like Harold Harbor, Arden,
Yeah.
Eppingford,
How do you
they're
get there?
a mile or two away from South Shore Trail.
Right.
And connecting those is gonna be
With a
crucial.
sidewalk would be.
Anything, a trail, anything.
You're allowed to ride a bike.
And I'll just say, the bike plan we did primarily, bicycles, because there's kind of a policy where almost every road is gonna require a sidewalk. So we are looking at putting those in most places. I mean, I think it's, lots under, and I can't remember off the top of my head, the lots, if your lots are over like 20,000 square feet, there's less than 500 cars a day, and there's no attraction, no schools or business. then you don't need a sidewalk on the road, but most of the roads in the county have one of those three criteria, so sidewalks are needed everywhere, and we just don't have the money to just go put them in, so we're targeting, we're looking at putting them in targeted places, but we're, as project opportunities come up, we're looking at putting them in. But again, it goes back to that funding piece that, if you really wanna fix or improve the transportation system, it's gonna take a lot of money. And priority wise, part of what you guys are gonna be doing is, where does transportation fit in with schools and public safety and, economic development, what do you wanna invest your money in? Same kind as us, we're looking at roads and buses and bike ped. We're probably gonna put some money in transportation, but where does it rank? How much to put in there?
And I think kind of encapsulating some of, if I
Yeah.
come right back to you,
Go, go.
but encapsulating some of that conversation previously, I mean, I think what I'm hearing is support for economical use of transportation funds to improve capacity, but also that, looks in at, investing in other modes of transportation, so it's not just fully auto focused, and that also preserves the character of the region.
The
I
other
think
thing
that's-
I was about to mention is like, I think that it's the general sentiment of the region, but also the public comment of residents of the region is to keep the region as rural as possible. That means to identifying those hubs, those ways to hubs. But this idea of like massification or transportation just to kind of like turn it into like a bottleneck, I don't think that will be very appealing to the majority of the residents, just because we go through that phase of like, we are before the bottleneck, we are the road to the bottleneck. So I think that just the sentiment is just, yes, that whatever we can do to keep the region as rural and as, residential as possible, with the little economic hubs or local hubs, that would be great. And I think that that's pretty much reflecting our vision that we agree as.
I think we would be interesting to be the first or only region in the county to prioritize more investment in transit, bike trails and pedestrian infrastructure than roads, and we have that ability because we don't have the most major roads running through our area. Some of them, like 97, are somewhat above our pay grade since they serve a lot more than just Region 6, but for what we're able to prioritize, most of us wouldn't say no money spent on roads, but we would say we could spend more on bike and trail and see how that works towards keeping our rural character.
Absolutely.
Well,
I also would
like to be on that.
Well, Craftsville is very popular, which I think has been for many years. You get a cluster of people connecting online, and they're not necessarily training. If you get like 15 or 20 of them, and they will back like the transfer. So to drive. So here's the problem with putting them on the trail. If I put them added and I don't wanna go on the mixed use because when I bring my kids on those mixed use, I get uncomfortable when they fly by and my kids, there's just things like that. You're not, you don't want them training on the.
But here's something that the people training on like River Road are going 25 to 30 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and the speed limit on River Road is like 30 miles an hour.
Yeah.
So the trouble is, the people who want to speed 40 or 45 can't do it. And that's what that thing is, that's what happens.
Like, even when I hike in like Bacon Ridge, how many times have I had a mountain bike come down, I have to get out of the way, but,
Yeah.
it's a challenge to balance these things. But I just wanted to comment that I think for the dangerous situations over the last 20, 30 years with the cyclists.
Maybe there's
So,
a fast training.
One of the questions I have, and we've had this in other areas about scenic historic road.
Like Toll Road.
We had Indian Creek School come in and I tried to get them to add a shoulder on the road because there are a lot of bike stuff. It's for safety and. But there are people who don't want to widen shoulders because it adds speeding traffic and that kind of thing and adds cost. So, as far as the scenic historic roads, the windy roads, would you want a wide, shoulder for people to walk and bike on, or are you looking for something separate and not mix them and that kind of thing? What is if you're adding something for, say, bikers and walkers, is it shoulder or is it off-road parallel to? You know what I mean?
Road like house road, it needs to be. Yesterday, there was a little car that went through the ice, off the road onto the shoulder. And off the shoulder into the grass, but they can't stay in their lane on that road, so it's,
I mean,
really.
like New York has the curves, right? So they have the bike lane and then they've got like, structure, like a big physical curve thing, yeah, and then the car lane.
Yeah, that would be okay.
I think a mixed model of things is what's been successful in other municipalities that I've studied before. That, yeah, you have that, as you were saying, like that makes use that's recreational, but just like we have different recreational for cars or not. Like nobody, going on a race course with NASCAR to like get to work. So it's like you have a separate transportation bike lane that might be a separate shoulder, but it's not a shoulder that a car can speed on because you have either a jersey wall, which does add cost because you're trailing along. Maybe it's not a jersey wall or cone, or sometimes sometimes they put fast lanes in rails to trails, which will happen with those in DC where you have a mixed use, but then you have a train. So I think it's an infrastructure problem of like the more infrastructure cost we add, you get those people off the road. That's personally what I would do. In our area, I really like your point of like being able to be at the forefront of like Crownsville is where you go to like see a safe biking model, safe walking model, and a mixed use of you can stay rural but still have healthy transportation that's impacting a climate goal in a big way, it's impacting public health in a big way, mental health in a big way. It seems to have a lot of success compared to bus transit or lane one.
Can I please jump in? I agree with everything you're saying, but I would like to show a little bit of support for widening 97.
Oh yeah, I'm not.
Because I know that there was talk about not widening it, that's not a priority. I think it is a priority. 178, yes, you're right, it's an overflow. And the only way we're gonna get off the overflow is by widening 97. We aren't gonna be able to recommend that they do 95 or 295, that's out of our jurisdiction. At this point, when we look at priorities, I hope we'll consider also encouraging the expansion of 97 because that will help 178. Even if it's only for a short period of time, it will at least eliminate some of the awful traffic that we have every single day because people are using it to get past the bottleneck that is currently going on from exit 5 and round at 178 all the way down to 450. I mean, or where it meets Route 50. So at this point, if we don't widen at least that part of it, 178 is going to remain and get even worse. So please, I just would like to make sure that there's a little bit of recognition that we do need to have support there.
Yes.
Look, I've a couple times I've said, like, if you build another lane, it's just gonna get filled up. I think that's probably the pattern, but I think part of what we want to do, we want to keep the traffic flowing around Crownsville to get people where they want to go. And so that General's Highway is local. And so you can do that by like, first, I think we have to improve the traffic flow on General's Highway as it is. There's probably some improvements we can add there, but then if you, to your point, Claudia, earlier, right? Everyone's got their directives in their app. If it takes longer to go up General's Highway for the Google algorithm than to stay on 97, then people aren't going to take General's Highway, and you can slow that traffic down by reducing the speed limit and putting things in people's way. So like putting whatever those like flexible barriers are that separate bike lanes. They have them in Baltimore too. That separate. If you put a bunch of those along the shoulder on General's Highway, people are going to slow down, right? Because they don't want to hit those little flexible things. And that also, I'm sure there's a name for them. Flex post.
Is that a brand name? Like, I think it's like living free, it's like Kleenex, no. I've never been generic, and you put like those. You put a bunch of those along the shoulders on both sides, and now you've got a place for your bikers to go, your cyclists to go. I think bikers, anyway, different demographic. Same demographic, but on different. Anyways, and that slows that traffic down, so, I think we should say, hey, we want General's Highway to be improved from what it is now. At the same time, we want to put stuff in the way of General's Highway that makes it suitable for us as locals, suitable for people to come and enjoy, but people that are passing through have options around that gets them out of there. Once, like, most bonkers ideas. My two bonkers ideas are get rid of the off ramp at 450 from 50 at the mall. Get rid of that off ramp. And the other one is get rid of the on ramp by the Shell station and the Science and Kirk, whatever that is on West Street. And get rid of the off ramp too. Make it so that traffic, instead of coming to a halt right there at Parole, flows around Parole in other directions. Send in one to Jennifer Road. Jennifer Road's got so much capacity, and that ramp is empty all the time.
Yeah.
You close those two ramps down, and then what you do is you open up that exit to 97, because what's the worst part of 97 is people coming on from 450 and having to get over, people coming off of 50 to get onto 97, people going to Riva Road and Aristide Allen. Like, you gotta we gotta close some of those exits down so the traffic flows through
That's the
there
going north.
and keeps, right. Well, it helps your eastbound, westbound, at the Shell station too on West Street. Close those exits down, because eastbound, right, what are these path on West Street?
There you go.
What exit at West Street is the absolute worst when you're on 50 eastbound? It's that one right there, right? They added that structured off lane there, but now all that does is push the problem to the intersection where that whole exit already is at 450. So anyway, maybe the Christmas tree salesman will see a hit to their business from closing that exit, but I think if you allow traffic to flow, get on 97, outside of our. So.
You're right.
The rest of the meeting, I think those are some really good ideas. We've blown past our break. Does anybody have any other points? Any other bunkers ideas? That was fantastic. Any other really good ideas?
One last question, maybe the next 4 years isn't gonna be the time, but there's real climate, impactful stuff, infrastructure that can only really be done at a federal or state kind of. So how do we continue to lobby for that stuff? Or what can we do while we're doing these little short term, we're walking fixes, but
That's the legislative piece of it. The state is going through funding issues right now, and they're talking about, what are we gonna pay? What do you wanna pay for? You gotta advocate. What's something you gotta advocate? And if you don't mind the next 4 years, you don't think you do anything at the federal level, can you get it at the state level? And you're advocating, it comes down to money. Whatever you have money for, and put your money towards, that's what you're gonna get. So.
But I do think you bring up a good point, kind of thinking about this big picture process and the legislative process. Locally, what we're doing is getting these priorities into a plan that is then adopted by council, that then you all can go to council every year during the budget process and say, look, you approved this, and these things were prioritized, put the money toward, strategy 1 or recommendation 2 or whatever it is. And that's the process. And so it is ongoing, but it starts with the work that you're doing here.
And I think that, from all the meetings that we have had, I think my biggest lesson is that we need to know about this stuff so that we can, share it with our friends, our neighbors, and then as you mentioned, it's like that is when we can go as a group and say no, you said this, or we want this, and it's about awareness. Everybody's too busy, but I think that this is the time. If federal is going to change substantially many of the areas, I am a fan of like, well, let's do something where we can, what is approved locally, and then let's start there. I think that would be the best, result of our engagement as volunteering for this, but also advocating for our own community. I'm a fan of it.
It's our reunion. Every year we go. Every year.
Now I am more motivated to kind of like show up to those meetings and
Yeah.
debate. I'm like, no, we'll keep these folks accountable. So,
Yeah, reunion.
yeah, and Rudy.
I'll say one more thing.
Go ahead.
Someone in my community said, you know, the traffic signal at Harold Harbor and General Highway is broken. It's all red, like it's red for 3 minutes. And no, the signal timing is people on Harold Harbor, if you miss the green, you're there for 2.5 minutes. While we flush through traffic, I-97 traffic through our community at the expense of the people who live here. So, you know, it goes back to, you want to limit traffic on our local roads. Why are we spending $100 million to expand 97 when we could just change the signal timing? You know, there are things we could do to discourage people from using General Highway without expanding 97. And I think, you know, maybe with people who live close to where they work or close to commercial centers, maybe deserve a little bit less delay in their daily commute, you know. A trip from Crownsville to Annapolis can be 30 minutes, 20 minutes.
No, and I don't think that we're gonna be able to fix the general highway issue of people coming down it that are just using it as a pass-through without trying to solve a little bit more and creating capability in 97.
But it's not an issue in isolation. It's not only 2 roads that run north-south through the state.
Right.
It's not just those 2 roads. There's
Right.
also Route 3, which, you know, used to be 2 lanes, but we thought expanding it to 3 was a great idea, and look what happened. Now we have a miserable Route 3. And now you're talking about doing that exact same thing through 97, because you think it didn't work before, but surely this time it will.
I was gonna bring up Route 3, but I said, no.
That's next month.
You know, we'll widen the road and everything will get better, and then things get terribly worse.
Well, it's not just that you widen the road and everything gets better because you're putting all of your eggs in that one basket. I think the whole point is to look at a lot of different possibilities so that you can do a little piece here and a little piece here and a little piece there. And the combination of all of those things will make it better. But I don't think you can rule out expanding capability on one place and then making something more of a bottleneck in another place and thinking that that's going to solve it. It may not.
I don't think you should rule it out of 10, but when you've only looked at widening and not looked at fixing where traffic merges into the system, then you've left some eggs out of the basket you should have been considering.
I guess I'm hoping that when they talk about planning on expanding, that they're also planning on fixing those entrances and exits.
But you can do,
Anyway.
you can look at each one of them individually.
I don't think we have to vote on this.
No, we don't.
Let's- I'm gonna,
Yeah.
suggest, why don't we take a 5-minute break and then we'll transition to our second half of the meeting. So thanks a lot to our speakers. We really appreciate your time. Thank you. All right, so we're recording again. Let me pull up my, sorry, give me 1 second to share. Okay. All right, good discussion on transportation. Now we're moving into, the economy, which is, sort of small and, Region 6. So if y'all had a chance to look at the briefing paper, you got a little bit of big background information about the Arundel Economic Development Corporation. They're the economic development arm for the county. They manage, loan programs, assist small businesses and such. You're gonna hear more from them at the February meeting, the February 13 meeting. So I'm not gonna go too deep into what they do. I'll let them sort of cover that, and it is in the briefing paper as well. There was a lot of background data in the briefing paper, if you had a chance to look at that, and if it raised any eyebrows for you all, it did for us as well. It's kind of hard to have real reliable data for a region that is so small, and definitely a lot of the employment data, for instance, comes from what's called our transportation analysis zones. And if you're not familiar with what those are, it's kind of like watersheds for roads. And so the zones that comprise all of Region 6 actually pull a lot from parole. So then you end up getting a whole lot of employment in Region 6 that's not truly there. So, you know, it is what it is. We did have this graphic as well that Brian had shared. Basically, you know, about twice as many people are commuting out for work as are coming in. I'm not even sure how accurate that is necessarily. There was data on vacancies in the region. I sort of think a windshield survey and your own knowledge about what are the chronically vacant and underutilized properties in the region. I kind of would trust that a little bit more than some of this data as it comes to us from these areas. But I would like to maybe use that as a springboard to start to think about a few key areas in the region, and that is the little commercial nodes that are already existing in your region. There are about 6 of them throughout the region, and I want to kind of just start a conversation tonight around what those are and maybe what those should be and what should the plan say about those going forward. And I've got a little spiel here because I want to say it's a little bit more for public consumption, but also somewhat for you all, because you know, we started talking about these areas a little bit before in some of the prior meetings, and even going back to the kickoff, I think some of you had brought up, you know, opportunities to improve some of these areas. And so we as staff kind of look at those and want to talk to you about how we address these areas in the regional plan. Do they, and I kind of think of two main questions. Do they have the potential to function better as a local neighborhood kind of hub? And do they need some special recommendations to ensure that they continue to fit within the context and the character of the region? So I kind of think those are 2 things that we want to think about with regard to these. We do have an opportunity to outline a vision for these areas if we want to do so in the plan to help maintain or enhance these areas. And so I kind of want to start that discussion tonight. And I am going to say, I understand there's some angst in the community about the potential for development and redevelopment in the region. And I think everybody's on board. We're not looking at big time redevelopment or major, you know, upzoning and development in the region. So I kind of want to be very clear about that. And the reason I can say that is because this is the context that has already been set by the general development plan. I've shown this before. They're primarily rural and agricultural and neighborhood preservation. So for Office of Planning and Zoning, or for this region plan to recommend, you know, significant intensity in the heart of Crownsville would be a real departure from that framework that was already adopted by council. But I think we can and should talk about these little areas. And
Are you gonna upload that like map that we made?
Yeah, with all of our.
I didn't, but.
we can do that. Yeah, although we've taken a picture of it, we can.
Scan it or something. I mean, I think we identified the little
Yeah.
nodes.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think we don't want chain restaurants and fast food, drive-through stuff, so somehow we can make that part of the condition. But I think, like, I mean, I was mentioning that pedestrian bridge. I mean, I think like identifying the nodes on the hiker, biker on the trail, you know, cause like connecting to those could be a really nice destination for the trail.
Yeah.
Getting them on like a map of the,
Like,
trail.
yeah.
And like prioritizing those for sidewalks, like if downtown crowd goes across from the hospital, there's a sidewalk where you can walk along that, just that little stretch, you know, and you go back.
Those
You're
are
not
the
trying
things,
to do everything,
those are the things that, yes,
yeah.
those are the things that I think we have an opportunity to really address in this plan and help set parameters for what we want to see. So we're not going to come to decisions tonight, but we can at least start the conversation. And so I've identified these 6 areas. I'm going to go through them real quick at a high level and then let you all determine which of these we may want to dig into and think about. But I do want to get everybody speaking up because I know that there are some who don't want to see any change at all. And if that's the concern, we want to hear that. Please don't hesitate to speak up. This is the time to start the conversation. But these are 6 areas. All of these have some commercial zoning already. And I think, and you're familiar with all of these areas. But my point too is that each of these has some underdevelopment and some undeveloped commercially zoned property already. So there's already today some redevelopment potential in these areas. So I'd like to let's think about how we address these in the region plan.
What is, can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
What is the, like, somebody owns the real estate there?
Mhm.
And is the objective, if you want to get this done, to make it like a lottery ticket where you increase the value of the real estate with the change in zoning? Like, how do you get what you want in the privately owned real estate lot?
You being a property owner?
You being us, like if we say, hey, I want you to take the thing at Bestgate and General's Highway, and we'd like to see more commercial development there. Because the process we would.
So the plan itself is a policy document. It's not regulatory in itself, but it does outline a vision, and we can get specific as to what we want the vision for, you know, each of these little areas to be. And then it's the role of staff and such we'll need to try to figure out what tools need to be brought to bear to help bring that vision to bear.
Gotcha.
So
And
my,
do you guys know, like, each of these 6 areas, do you know who owns the real estate and?
Not off the top of my head, we can look up
Okay.
all of that, yeah.
I think there could be like tweaks to the zoning, but then also like it's along a right of way in all these cases that's owned by the county, so. The decision to fund the sidewalk in a certain area, you know, as a
Mhm.
priority, they're making that more attractive. As you know, like you are
Also
seeing
for
the
the
value
business owner.
of
Yes,
that
for
business.
business,
So it's like the zoning, but also like guiding the capital investment.
And infrastructure, right?
I'm just,
Yeah, there's no city water on the Arundel.
Yep.
Ground.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering why it's okay to push on the commercial side of it when all this is on the.
No, nobody's pushing on anything.
Well, okay.
Not, say, don't.
but it's, oh, yeah, I think you missed a couple meetings, but like in our vision, we were like, don't want new, we don't want like big new commercial stuff. We already have some rundown commercial centers that service the local. Don't want fast food chains, like we don't want a high, yeah, small business providing local like services in like a defined,
And
so
the
we want
infrastructure's there.
and commercial.
Yeah.
Any,
So the question is how to attract new businesses into vacated, vacated.
or just enhance,
Or
yeah.
How
it flourish
spruce it up, make it.
And kind of limit the businesses.
And I think some of these business owners might want to improve their properties and they're just not sure like what's.
Right.
How best to
And
do
didn't
it.
you say that we could do grants or like help them with doing facelifts on their properties?
Or beautification grants or anything that's in the county.
There are some that usually apply more toward identified commercial revitalization areas, which we don't have any in this region. I'm not sure that would be the right tool
Okay.
to use here, but
The one you have number 6 on that previous slide, that has water and sewer, right?
off the top of my head, I don't know. Let's keep it at a high level tonight.
Yeah.
We are gonna get into a land use and zoning discussion. So this isn't the last time that we're gonna talk about these. I think if we can kind of keep it at the level of what do we want to see here? What do we
In
not
general.
want to see in each of
Okay.
these? What's special about these areas and how could they really better serve the surrounding neighborhood? Or maybe they can't. I mean, that's the thing too, because some of these are not well connected to the neighborhoods surrounding.
I think ones that are near the train.
Yeah.
If we could tweak the zoning on all of these properties and the owners might sit on them. for
They don't
10
do
years and
anything.
nothing, and that's just how, that's the nature of tweaking the
Real
zoning.
estate, yeah.
Do you know whether or not there have been zoning request changes? That's part of the.
There have been a few, we haven't gone through this yet. We will, and those will all be brought to you with your, with our initial recommendation, and we'll talk about those. So this is kind of the starting point of that. We'll address zoning in April timeframe.
And that is what I was about to say, that the idea, I think, is just to start the conversation. Again, nor the staff nor us can kind of make a kind of a mandate to change things, not to change things. But it's like in terms of like from our perspective, what do we think are the limitations or things that we would like to see if those areas that are potentially going to be developed at some point end up being developed? What are the things that we don't want to see? And I think that that's pretty much just framing it in a way that what can we do, which is great about like change might happen, might not happen. But if change happens, how do we want that change to take place? I think that is kind of like the importance of our group, to say like, yes, if change takes place, this is what we would like to see and this is what we don't want to see as a group of it.
And just as a reminder too, and keep me honest, I think when we spoke a couple sessions back, we talked about having to go to Route 3 and Watt Chapel and Parole and
Yep.
trying to have more options with these nodes. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the why I think is the value of them.
I think
The congestion,
stop with the star.
convenience, economic growth.
Yeah.
But I also think one thing I heard was you don't want these to be destinations for anybody outside the region.
Right.
We're talking local
It's our
neighborhood
small, yeah.
areas.
And we also, I mean, I think with the hospital ground redevelopment too, I think that's an opportunity for both. Isn't there gonna be like a small business? I can't remember. I mean, maybe we can have a small location, small business there. We talked about farmers market there, community garden. So I feel like that is the other.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's on here. but
It is.
that's in
Yeah, let's run through these real quick. I think as soon as you'll see this, so this is General Highway.
Veterans, yeah.
Yeah.
This is where the Mexican place used to be, but that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the one with the black one, they-
Oh, yeah, some of this, yeah, I think you're right, has been vacant. There's a lot of, this is kind of this deep pink area. This is our commercial zoning, and the deeper pink is kind of the more intensive zoning. We'll give you a whole crash course on this. We don't need to get into it tonight, but the Region 3 line runs through here. It actually separates these two random buildings between, Veterans Highway and, Route 3. So I think we might want to suggest adjusting the region line to bring that in.
Yeah,
There are a few of these things, connected under Route, under 97, but I'm not sure that I see that as being a part of a cohesive little
no,
area here.
no, they're like
But-
carved.
Yeah, this one I think is just it's more auto oriented, so not very well connected to the surrounding neighborhoods, as I can tell.
And not, it hasn't done.
Yeah.
It's had a rotation of things,
Yeah,
keeps going vacant, clearly there's not enough people.
so this is on Maryland 3 at Millersville Road. We might table discussion for next month on this one, because we are gonna be focusing on the whole Route 3 corridor with Region 5 at that meeting. But I would point out, I do think this, again, the region line is
Is this
right
all
here.
one?
Yeah, this is adopted zoning on the ground now. So there's the corner lot, here that I think is going to be a hot topic of conversation. It's going to
Yes.
come up again, and,
Yeah.
There are two undeveloped properties that are already zoned C4, just to the north here. So this is what I'm talking about. There's development potential, and we can.
That's
you
all.
know,
And they're looking for, looking, it's like they've already done the initial grading, now they're kind of like waiting, right? for someone- At that, for that lot.
That's past the muffler place. I think it's still,
Oh, is it?
hasn't been touched.
That South Shore Trail goes right through there.
Yeah, right, it
Oh,
comes in, right.
This is the Wawa. Yes, yes, sorry. Yeah, Wawa with the.
Is that Royal
Yeah,
Farm?
Royal Farm.
Like the Royal Farms.
Okay.
And it's supposed to be a bridge for those South Shore Trail,
Okay.
over Route 3. It's supposed to
Over
be.
there.
So
I
I
think
think that corner lot is like abandoned house that's been there for.
That's
That's
the
the
site
corner of
that's going
property.
to, I think, be something we're
It's all
gonna
boarded
really
up
wait
windows.
on. at some
There's a
point.
random production.
Well, I think they made that historic, there's lots of.
We're not.
Was this our phone last year, was it rural before?
So, I think this has been commercial for a while. This has. But anyway, so that's the second one. And then there are three that are right on General's Highway. Again, General's Highway, scenic and historic, and I think the way that we talk about these may be different than, say, the first two. The character feels a little bit different.
Yeah, you're getting more.
Yeah, this one is
That's what the
Bean-
fire station is.
Bean Rush Cafe.
Fire.
Yeah, the fire station is under construction
Water
here.
regulators.
Um,
Cleaners, water regulators.
Sidewalk is part of the project.
I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
Property to the other side of the beach, yes, that corner lot has been vacant a very long
I
time.
believe that we do have a zoning request.
They tried to
coming in for
upzone
that.
it last,
Yeah,
said, because, yeah, we're like, well, you say you're gonna put a little convenience store, but how do we know it's not gonna be a Dunkin' Donuts? I think we'd be more comfortable with it, but also the traffic there.
So these are the things that we can try to speak to in our plan. Understanding that the plan it is only a policy document, but, it does carry some weight. I mean, we review, development proposals against these plans as well. And if they're not consistent, then we can weigh in on that. But anyway, so this is the very small one, Bean Rush Cafe area. Yeah, potential connections to some of the surrounding neighborhoods, including Arden and such. So this could maybe continue to serve for that area. This one I personally find pretty interesting. This is at the corner of Harold Harbor. South Shore Park is right nearby, so potential access
The yellow
connections
farmhouse
there.
is.
I'm sorry.
Isn't that where the yellow farmhouse is in the pink?
There's
Across
no,
from the shell.
it's the gas station.
Across from, the gas
gas
station's on one
station.
side
Yeah.
and then the yellow
Yes,
farmhouse.
correct.
And isn't
Correct.
that where
Dunkin'
Dunkin'
Donuts
Donuts
is
is going?
going, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We don't have traffic problems.
And that's already zoned commercial at that corner.
Yeah.
The Dunkin'
Yeah,
Donuts.
That's
all the
fairly
big
where
ones.
they're going.
All the pink is already.
So
The South
basically,
Shore Park is the green, right? That's gonna be South Shore Park.
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
so we can't stop Dunkin' Donuts from going in there.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. People can develop these properties according to
What
the zoning
is.
regulations and the development
So-
regulations that are in place now.
Could be like, right, when we talk about limiting drive-through or something, like it could be Dunkin' Donuts, but not a drive-through Dunkin' Donuts.
I prefer being able to say no drive-throughs.
Right.
Because somebody wants a cup of coffee or
Yeah.
donut or something. What right does anyone have to say, you can't sell a brand name donut, you have to sell a homemade generic donut, you know? It gets-
You make a good point. We don't zone for non-national.
No,
chains.
I know. But
Saying no drive-through, you know,
so many drive-throughs where it backs up into the street.
Yeah.
And
and this
causes,
Well, I did
Right,
ask,
we did
I did
someone
ask them
already in
about
there.
that, because I was trying to understand how if the backup right around there ends up showing up at number 6, how could they have approved the Dunkin' Donuts with the transportation approval?
Yeah, I know.
And they explained to me that all they have to do, I guess, is mitigate any additional traffic that they would have brought in. So they're mitigating it by having the drive. They mitigate it by changing something on Harold Harbor so that when people come out, it's wider. So I guess that's part of the planning
but
is,
they don't have a sidewalk,
yes, but it's just, I think that's,
so you
That's
can't
why-
walk to get it.
yeah,
Right.
that's why they have the
Drive-through.
I found that interesting, that it's not that they have to, they can't do it because they will just increase the amount of traffic. All they have to do is mitigate. The increase in traffic, which I thought fascinating.
So you can zone for, drive-through, no drive-through. You can also add design elements that make it harder for national chains with a specific design and brand that they cookie cutter into every spot. You could, require frontage on roads. You can require parking to be here and not there. You could tweak a few things that make it a little challenging and maybe would favor a smaller business over a major, and they can still modify their design to be what they say, but if it looks better and it's more fitting of the
You can say
neighborhood.
everything has to look like the Bank of Glen Burnie or whatever.
That's the example. Yep. I will say that there's a balance too to think about, because this is the one, I believe there's this, this is the Gambrel route.
Yeah,
It used to like, and then they
Okay.
Now
It
it's
would-
over.
now it's nothing, basically. right?
Someone runs the woodworking.
Yeah,
Oh, so it is occupied and used.
I thought it was.
Okay, I did not know that.
Like, they never open it, it must be a private.
Yeah, the guy's business is listed as like in Harold Harbor. I called him up. I needed a rounded corner on something. It's like, oh yeah, swing by that old
Yeah,
white farmhouse.
He's using it.
Okay, so that's good to know. I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't-
It's on a boat. It's always a boat on the first day.
So what's the one behind the the dark pink? What lot is that?
which side is that?
To the right,
the right.
Yeah.
yeah, what lot, what's that?
They put up a fence. The previous owner got in big trouble because he cut down all the trees around the stream.
Oh, wow.
So I think he got hit with some kind of violation. But it changed, I think it's changed ownership recently. I don't know. They don't have a business sign up.
But it is zoned commercial.
It's commercially, I usually.
But how does someone get to?
There's a
Off the trail,
driveway.
yeah,
I mean,
off the
there's a
trail.
driveway.
Harold Harbor here.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was.
Yeah, I think there are several properties that people might not realize. So. That's why I bring this up.
But I mean, by the looks of how they've changed it, it looks like it's operating as a business. They just don't have a sign up saying.
So what is the light pink? What to do?
It's kind of our lower intensity commercial, local commercial.
Okay, so the road that's on the south side, is that what? What is that?
That's their.
That's Farm Hill. Okay, so then I'm wrong, the light pink, right under where you're
Right.
going, is where that Dunkin'
Dunkin'
Donuts
Donuts.
is.
Correct.
Here, here.
Yes.
Yes.
On the line.
The pink house remains, right?
The yellow house?
It's the little one in
Yellow,
front.
sorry, yellow house in front remains,
Yes.
because that is historic.
Yes.
It's the
It's the
building
other
behind that,
Yeah.
the barn they're gonna.
How did the Dunkin' Donuts fit in a low commercial? What is the difference between the low and the?
Yeah, how did it make it in a light pink? How did it get approval?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I'd have to dig in a little bit deeper.
Would it be a special-
To know that, but it would have to be on the permitted use list and probably under certain conditions.
What is the light green above the thing is that's like a county park to the left.
So that, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
Future.
yeah, South Shore.
Do people use that?
Right now is the
Not
abandoned
built
lot.
in. Is it still open for comment? Do you know, they have comments?
I think it is, mate. Oh, it might be closed now. They had to sign up with the. Yeah.
They have closed.
Somebody scan the QR code.
I feel like this.
If you're the first car.
I feel like this area could have some potential to be kind of the really cool civic node for Crownsville, if you feel like it's appropriate, and if people don't, then please speak up. I mean, I don't,
I think that.
I don't wanna project my idea.
Small area plan did have stuff going on there. I mean, I think,
I like it because it's next to the park, so it'd be nice to like when you have, I'm assuming Arden Rec is gonna use it at some point. So you're gonna have a bunch of kids and families, and it'd be nice to have somewhere to go right after.
Is-
right?
and the trail goes
Just the
right
trail alignment right
alongside
next to it.
Where are they
That's-
all gonna park?
South Shore
It's
Park is gonna have a lot of parking.
Right up there?
At the end, that lot, yeah, or yeah.
That's not the whole property. It extends off of that. And you showed a
Rendering.
rendering of it. It has a couple different options for where they want to put the parking lot.
But it'd be nice to just walk,
It'd
right?
be-
Yeah, you get something.
It would be great if they could, but those intersections have gotta be,
Improved.
Yeah.
you know,
Okay, so prioritize intersection
Yes.
improvements for pedestrian and
Yes.
bike safety in these
Yeah.
areas.
Yeah,
Could
like-
you-
on the corner there too, like. People have kind of created a turn
Turn
lane
lane.
that's not technically there, but everybody wants a turn lane there. Yeah, the right turn.
Good
And-
integrity.
But you're kind of, you don't really know if you're in the road or in the gas station, and then you never know when people put their, on General's Highway going north, they put their turn signal on to turn right. And you never know if they're going in Harold Harbor Road or if they're going in the gas station. Yeah. So there's always this kind of chicken match, like, can I go, can I not go?
Right.
Are they going to the gas station? Are they what are they doing? Like, there's always this kind of uncertainty there.
For those, light pink properties behind the gas station between, so west of General's Highway and east of the trail alignment, could there be some kind of special zoning overlay or something that
They're currently
provides or
there.
allows fewer parking spaces if they provide some sort of bicycle amenities, because that's along the current, future trail line. You could have bicycling pedestrians that don't need cars. Could you allow for half the parking spaces as long as you provide double bike parking spaces?
Yeah.
And maybe there's some sort of bike. I don't even know what I mean by bike friendly businesses, but surely you could do something that.
Well, that's over in Arundel, which is in a park, right? They have right along the bike path,
Yeah.
there's a coffee shop, a bike shop.
That's a great
Yeah.
case study, I think. for-
It's used a lot.
which one is this again?
McKinley?
No, it's, we're talking about Smyrna Park, like.
It's a park, yeah, along the rail.
Trail. Talking about.
That's like the same side and
Ice cream.
Commercial area right next to the trail, we could do something for its bike.
I guess another sort of tie-in maybe discussion too, of like this kind of, oh, you get off 97 and suddenly it's like a park and stuff, like flapper thing, you know, you're like, I should have stayed on the highway, like, this is I don't know.
A gateway, like, you're in the community now, like you come off the highway and you're in the neighborhood. Kind of.
Slow down.
Like,
So slow down.
here.
But you guys,
Let's think of the other two. Oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
just in terms of the distinction of the colors, I already put on the website. And so C1, which is the
light
stronger pink. I mean, sorry, the C4 is the stronger pink.
Yeah.
And that's only commercial use, and it limits the square footage and also the use in terms of, it calls highway related uses. C1, lighter pink, is permits small scale businesses and neighborhood commercial activities And then, and there's a minimum lot of 40 feet, maximum, a minimum depth of 70 feet. So it has like a smaller footprint for the business itself. The stronger pink is for larger.
Are permitted in all four.
Okay, okay, but probably smaller restaurant.
It'd just
right?
be different requirements for setbacks.
Yeah.
Side front, like.
Yeah, that is what it says, so of these helps in terms of like starting to scale, it's a lot in on starting to be a massive. Should be smaller.
Okay.
Going down General's Highway, this is Jasmine, this is your area, the one that you kept talking about, just north of Lours, which actually is not connected with, there's no commercial zoning between Lours and going up. This one is a little bit strange because it's all on the east side of the road. There's nothing on the west side. And I think it's a little bit difficult too, because there's not a cross street that really helps it connect to the surrounding area. This surrounding neighborhood, but there's no connection to any of the
Anything
neighborhoods
Yes,
on the
it's
east
just
as
on
well. So that's my,
But the
Except for the park.
Yeah.
that's the thing. Yeah, so the hospital is all to the right, except you've got
A little bit.
Fairfield
Probably
Road.
beyond that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be this area here. So we'll still have these things that are within the,
Those are homes, right?
Yeah,
Those are homes,
and there's a big hill there too somewhere.
because, where the state, and then that's, yeah.
Yeah.
States.
So it's not so easy to connect from Fairfield Loop to General Highway, because there's
Yeah,
a
you're
significant hill. If you come to the hospital, easy, flat.
Yeah, but then getting,
So,
Down
but then you have
there.
from Lours up, getting from Lours up.
I almost
think
wonder,
The buildings you're talking about, like the state agency, are across in there too, I mean.
They're
Some
close
kind
to
of
the top.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
kind of pedestrian, I mean, I just feel like some way to connect that little stretch to the other
But
side.
you'd have to then get right of way over some people's houses. And if I were neighbors right there, I'd be a little upset if you're thinking of actually getting a pedestrian walkway right next to my house or right over.
Oh, yeah.
house.
To access the tattoo parlor.
Yeah, so not, it feels like. bottom.
are you familiar with this? I'm sorry?
Is that the Fraternal Order Police Building?
Let's further. Yeah, yeah.
Or maybe that's subway, right?
Might be right on top. This is architect's firm, this is the K9.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that.
but they just, it's cool.
Yeah.
I drove by it so much and had no idea that was
Yeah.
back there. This is the liquor store, the great little speakeasy behind it, if you haven't ever real.
Amazing, it is.
Yeah.
It's not.
So that's probably gonna be the strip mall that's right there.
That is, that's,
Now that's.
It's a multi-story
Yeah.
office building.
Of the barber.
Yeah,
pizza shop,
that's
barber.
dry cleaner, yeah.
Yeah.
This one has like law offices, financial.
And the subway.
Subway.
Right.
A lot-
Open,
Yes,
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
open space in that building.
That's kind of a nicer new building.
It is.
Yeah. But full.
Are the apartments above it?
I think so.
Oh,
Yeah.
So you've got mixed use and Crownsville already.
Yeah.
I think it's all.
I thought it was awesome. Is it all?
It's office. I think it's all. office.
I think it could be mixed use. That might be nice.
I think it already is, isn't it?
I think it's only
I think
office.
Two-story office.
I was hoping you all would know, because I truly don't.
Does it like, zoning allow?
It looks nice. I've never been in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Residential.
Because the pink one the pink one then is the gas station.
Yeah.
That's the Exxon,
Exxon.
that's the Exxon gas station,
Yeah.
like one.
That would be the
between
post
that.
office.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, the post office.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hair salon.
Tattoo parlor.
So thinking incrementally about each of these nodes, if there was one of those buildings, the subway building, let's call it for
Yeah.
lack of a better word. If there was one of those buildings at each node that had retail on the ground floor, some stories, residential above it. Would that be something that would overwhelm the rural character or transportation network or anything else in the area?
I think it might provide a little bit of affordable living, a tiny bit. You know, it's not gonna be that many apartments.
Problem is, once you get to start with one,
I think it depends on, like he's
But-
saying, does that consistent with the vision
No.
statement and maintenance
I
of
mean-
the rural agriculture,
But
you
then-
know?
I'm not sure.
Where else?
When you see the building, like no one in this room knows for sure if it's mixed use or not. So like, it's already there. What are you gonna do? Tell them they have to tear it? You can't tell them to tear it down.
I think there's a difference between the 3 level like this and what you're saying was like a multi-story, like I think maybe that would work where it's just maybe 3 stories high, but.
not any higher.
Right,
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was gonna ask, cause that's what you have. Okay,
It's office.
it's all office space, yeah, but if it looked like that and you had people living in it, would we notice? or
We
care?
have at most 12 apartments.
Cause it's nice, it looks
That
kind
kind
of
of
residential already, actually.
I don't think it would take like, it's
Well,
like
I'd
New England towns,
Yes.
they have tiny little things like that all over.
But I definitely understand the perspective of, okay, so you allow that one, but then does somebody buy the gas station and say, okay, I'd like to do the same thing here? Is there any way, if we were to say, in each node, one of these could add a little bit of mixture of housing with.
But no higher than.
Sure, yeah, and I'm just throwing it out there, I'm not saying this is a great idea, I'm just saying, is there a way to sprinkle in just a little bit more residential use? And
I
limit
don't
it?
want any more here.
No.
What are the
This
rules
is
on
developing
putting
up.
residential in commercial
Pretty screwed
districts?
up though.
Didn't
you,
that
you
allow-
can, there's some degree of mix of uses that is allowed under
So
certain
it's-
conditions.
But there are restrictions to it, but like any of these, if they meet the restrictions,
Mm.
could have a residential. Ready.
I just feel like there should be a sidewalk on this.
So that was a
Yeah.
question I was gonna ask too. I mean, do we want sidewalks and that kind of thing in some of these little commercial areas? Is that appropriate? Cause if you look at little similar crossroad commercial nodes in rural areas, a lot of times there is no sidewalk.
Right.
It's not,
It's true.
If I had to
Built
choose
that way.
between a bike lane and a sidewalk, I'd pick a bike lane. Because I think more people would use it. I mean, I could see people biking to go to Subway or biking to go to a coffee shop or biking to do that. There aren't enough people, I don't think, that would walk down there.
Well,
I
the
think
sidewalk would
people
only be in this little node, right? You're saying sidewalk wouldn't serve.
that
it.
would be my thought. Yeah, I don't see sidewalks going on through town.
Not a lot of density there.
If you require that any redevelopment provides access between lots or a sidewalk easement to.
Going back to Lourdes, it's not connected to the rest of the
Anything.
commercial district. And people do walk that stretch of General Highway a lot.
They do.
I don't know why, and I don't know where they're going, but I feel. And you get, and further south, you get people jogging, running.
Yes,
down
Yeah.
Arundel. You get runners, but no, I would say from the gas station to Lourdes, I don't know where they're going, but
That on the other side of
They
the,
won't
of the Lours, on the other side of Lours where Crownsville Road comes in, on the
Mhm.
other side, that place is for sale right now.
Yeah.
Oh, the little house.
The little
Yeah.
house.
And according to their real estate listing, they think they're. So curious to know what.
Yeah, that would be in for the street. Good, county. And then connected to the memorial park.
no, that's
No.
Lourdes, right? That
No,
one.
it's further down. from
It's not.
That's Lourdes there.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's south of that.
So lot.
Yeah.
No, see, it's a regular. What's it?
It did say fire shall verify all zoning. or purpose.
Yeah. I think we go back to this idea here of, this 3-story building, is it too much for Brownsville, if more came in, there was 3 stories, I mean, is 2 stories really more appropriate?
Yes.
Or is it that this node maybe is a little bit different than some others and, you know, a few, maybe a 3-story height limit is more appropriate here than the others? I'm throwing this out there. These are the questions that I
Someone
think.
that lives near this, I think if we had a bunch of those starting to appear, it would change.
I,
Well, what about the one at the very end? What about the one that we don't know what to do with? Number one, the first one we looked at, where none of the businesses have survived,
Exactly,
like,
that would be fun.
and that's far enough
Yeah.
out. Right. So maybe that one would be okay.
And Stacey, I think what you mean, if there's a lot of turnover there and things aren't surviving, I'm hesitant to recommend a whole lot of guidelines and requirements that make it even more difficult to redevelop, because what's there now maybe isn't so
Almost that.
appealing.
Unless it's something that serves people.
Or doing something different is what's
Right.
gonna.
Yeah,
Right.
just over the line from that, there's, was it White Gables Motel?
yes.
Yeah.
The hotels.
Hotels.
Suggestion.
But each, their
Yes.
website has Baltimore, I think that's the one, the website
is.
has Baltimore skyline.
Yeah.
They're in Baltimore, yeah.
I would prefer to see, I don't know, that instead of a strip mall.
Yeah.
And you're getting more mixed use, and I think it's kind of, when I'm driving along here, like, you know, like if the liquor store had nice attractive apartments above it instead of just a flat top.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of different benefits for that too, environmentally. But I think to your point, it's less maybe about the size, but the number of them. Like if you have 4 mixed-use apartment buildings, that might feel okay to everyone because you're keeping that neat, you know, feeling. But it's like if you have 1 apartment building that's 30 stories, it's okay. Or if you have 10 apartment buildings that are 2 stories, it's okay. That's kind of
Like
I
the
would agree
one,
with you if it was a way to encourage, let's say that the people that have that strip mall there, they said, okay, we can go up 2 floors. If we added 2 floors, it would spruce up the whole thing, so it doesn't look like a strip mall anymore. It looks more like a, you know, nice.
like when you pull away, when you show it, it looks like a townhouse.
I think it's like the nicest thing on that entire. Like I thought it was apartments already.
From Alexis' point, I was like, how many apartments, if that was apartments, how many apartments is that? I don't know, what, 1 in each corner, maybe 4 on each floor, so that's, call it 8. And then if we're guessing, that's 2 cars per apartment, so that's 16 cars that we just plopped down on General's Highway. Right here, 16 more cars, and then 16 more cars at this end, and then 16 more cars at this end, and then suddenly we're at whatever 3 times 16 is. I apologize for the staff. Anyway, my point is like, that has to go hand in hand with like, okay, cool, we gotta stretch out General's Highway and make sure that that's not overclogged, because adding, adding 16 cars here or there is not a big deal, but when you're adding those 16 cars to the 3,000 or whatever that are already clogging up the road, that's your. That-
Consider the fact that they're gonna redesign the whole Crownsville
Well,
Hospital area, which is going to bring a ton more traffic. And that's gonna be right across the street.
But maybe that's why this one might be okay before that, because of the connection to Crownsville. I mean, we talked about some of the original plans, right, for the memorial site was to include, right, low income or mixed,
It's
you know.
including a very small amount.
But yeah, but like maybe this is our node for that, to like also make another connection, and if we build a bridge.
I mean, all you're doing is increasing the traffic even more.
With one node is.
But it's one node right in place of the other node.
You can also take cars off if you
Right.
had a grocery
That's
store.
what I'm saying. That's what I'm
Yeah, where it was
They all block in that site
Right.
too. People would come, and if you have the sidewalk, then, you can come and you park once, instead of having to go out every time, and every time you're turning onto that road, it's a 5-minute delay of someone
Yeah.
stopping. So if we do expand, we do get some more people, but you're providing low income housing potentially, which is super important. Well, then not my backyard.
But I like it because of the connection to Craftsville Memorial. I think this is like a good spot for it.
I think that.
And look, like, before the memorial site people came in, I was pretty nervous about the hospital too, but like, correct me if I'm seeing something that wasn't there, but I feel like the plan that they have for that site is a lot more restrained than I think I feared, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it definitely
they are not building parole part two there. They are not even building the subway part two there. It's like, this is where in the middle of the day, a school bus full of kids from Millersville Elementary show up and wander around and,
Yeah.
you know, eat their peanut butter sandwiches or whatever, right? So,
There are gonna be lots of kids out there playing.
it's not gonna be-
on
it's not-
fields, And I think that's wonderful.
yeah, but it's not gonna be like, the target in
No.
parole, right? So or Watch Apple, right? Like, yeah, so
I just look at
I
it as
think
an
it's not-
opportunity where it's gonna be beautified. People are gonna recreate
That's
there.
gonna be gorgeous.
right,
I like the park once downtown
yes.
feel.
And I don't think it's gonna be so many people that is what our major problem in this region is.
Right.
Our major problem in this region is going to be people from Odenton going to Annapolis and people from Annapolis going to Baltimore, and, you know, that's our major problem.
Well, let's
People-
make an alternative suggestion. If we're looking at something like this, encourage that on the other side of the road from Crownsville Hospital, so that it's possible to include pedestrian walking back and forth. So that you end up building there where you're expecting there's gonna be
Across
parking.
Crownsville Road,
What?
or you talking about like across Crownsville Road or across?
Across Crownsville Road, rather than putting more business stuff on General.
I think that's already part of the
That's the hospital.
memorial.
They're
Yeah,
putting-
it's already
they're
part of
putting-
the memorial.
They're putting part of it over there with the farmer's market, but there is a lot more land there than they have actually identified for things like
Somebody
that.
else was moving that.
If you wanted to put in a little grocery store, or if you wanted to put in, you know, mixed use housing, which they're already doing over there, which means that this would tie in with their mixed use housing. I think it would be a better place to do it than adding more onto General's highway.
Right.
Focus more on Crownsville Road.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And to be fair too, it's easy to say that adding more residents in that area would hopefully, they would have things to do in that area, but the workforce stats that we saw earlier said 97% of the people who live in this area commute outside the area. So they'll very likely be leaving this area every day in their cars too.
Let me get to the last one
Yeah,
that,
Sorry.
I guess it costs you have all that.
No, you can just get it.
You would be expanding commercial along Crownsville Road when it's not commercial now. So that's true.
Or could we make the light pink? Like, if you make the light pink dark pink, give them a higher density zoning, is that enough incentive that they would take away some of those lower impact areas and build nicer ones, or is it?
you open up
Bigger.
to everything that's permitted under the more intensive zones.
Including storage units.
Yeah.
Specifically banned storage units. It's not allowed.
So, I was gonna fast food.
I was gonna bring up, I mean, there may be some opportunity to create some sort of designation of some of these areas that then allows for some targeted guidelines or additional like overlay kind of provisions. We'd have to think about that. I mean, I think tonight what I'm hoping to have is this discussion that we're having and kind of start to think about not so much the tools to apply, but like what's the desire for these? And so that's kind of what I'm hearing from Paul.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of retail areas that are just, like, it's all crappy. And it's like, it's detracts from the drive that would ordinarily be like a nice scenic drive and then.
There's nodes, but then there's a lot of other development. I mean, there's another dog place, right, way down.
Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
Honey Smith, which did a wonderful job
Yeah.
renovating
Yeah.
that garden center. Like,
But that's farther north.
Double
Honey
tree.
Smith- No, I know, but I'm saying, like, we identified nodes, but there are other locations along 178 that aren't.
Yeah.
nodes. And, there's other things I think that aren't captured here, that,
Individual.
right, small, other commercial lots.
But more individual, I think.
Yeah.
Than these that are little clusters that exist. Let me bring you to the last one. This one's Crownsville Road Defense Highway. Claudia, I think you brought up something about the light here.
Yeah.
So 450 coming out of Annapolis. This area is very kind of auto oriented, but I think this is an area that has a lot of undeveloped potential. There's a large lot that is behind, I'm drawing a blank on what this is at the front here.
Oh, it's
Random sales, there's like random things for sale out the
Carousel for
fairs, like, fair type thing.
I didn't write down what.
Yeah.
What that is. We have the American Legion up here.
Yeah.
Um,
On the. And then there's always, the other lot rotates, it used to be car, it was like a O place, and then it was a sign.
Yeah.
place.
uh,
Yeah.
Like information technology.
That's where the orange is, isn't it?
No, the bottom
This-
right, the
this is
southeast.
vacant. It's C2 commercial on the corner there and it's vacant. And then this large,
No, the boat was on the southeast, the other
It's
corner,
just across the street.
Yep. the other,
Riders of both.
I must
Yeah.
be turned around then.
Yeah.
Cause where is the gas station?
the north.
Right there.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, and I was turned around. Okay, thank you.
so this one is a little bit more auto oriented. I think there is proximity to the neighborhoods down here, but I'm not sure that I see.
You said.
This doesn't feel like the ones on General Highway.
Yeah.
At all.
This one is Heritage Harbor is right there.
Very good point.
And they are constantly talking about different places that they need that they don't have.
And they don't like
Don't
to
they
come into
just go-
parole.
They don't like coming to parole. They would
Yes.
love to have
They
this.
walk.
They just go down. No, you say Heritage Harbor, the retirement.
The retirement, well, the older, over 50.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but they, I've got,
Don't they come this way?
no, they don't want to.
They don't?
No.
Really?
They go down to.
Because of the congestion.
It has gotten so damn busy now.
Oh,
So
interesting.
basically, if this were something that we
For
ended
them.
up talking to Heritage Harbor and say,
What do you need?
what would you?
Sure. I think that's great.
They would
Heritage Harbor is
probably love
huge.
It is huge.
It is.
And it's all walkable.
Yeah.
It is.
And
It's so
I-
beautiful.
Yeah, they're walking and biking there constantly. So if you develop foot traffic there, I
Right,
think you get
Exactly.
Is everybody,
bountiful foot traffic.
are y'all familiar with Heritage Harbor? Do you know what
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Yeah.
It's an
Yeah,
age
I
restricted
love Heritage.
community, so we're talking older adults.
They have their own commercial area too, but it's probably not big enough for the population.
Very.
Yeah, it's got one tiny place on 100 floor.
Yeah.
They
The tiny.
would love a grocery store. Something small.
Oh,
that
no.
they lost
A
it.
little cafe,
Yes, a little.
something.
yeah.
We could serve the community there, because that all.
Yeah.
sidewalks
Yes,
all
exactly.
over.
It is.
It's not at the corner, but like.
Well,
in the
he said he
community.
lives right
So
there.
what is that dark pink zone?
That's your highway zone.
That's a highway.
So that would incorporate a lot of the light commercial uses that were in the light pink along General's Highway. So my point was just, all this is already allowed here. What's
Yeah.
preventing it
Yeah.
from being redeveloped
They
for
could do
something more?
anything.
There may be environmental
Yeah,
constraints
well,
that
it's
don't
talking about-
really make this very viable. I haven't looked at that, to be honest.
But that would be worth asking them, because they might even like a small little motel or hotel for their family when they come to visit. They can't put them in places.
They've got lodging.
What?
They've got lodging
Oh,
in the.
So, oh, we're almost at 8 o'clock now. any other thoughts before we kind of, and I'm not quite sure where to go with this. I think we've had a good conversation here. I think well, I think before we close, I mean, has anybody not spoken? There are a few of you that have not spoken. I'd love to kind of hear from you. What reservations? What is a bad idea with regard to any of these? I want to kind of open space for that. Any concerns?
Can you go back to the list of 6 again, just to remind us?
Maybe you guys could also send us like examples of like those there's zoning.
Oh, language.
Yeah, like what does that mean? Like what would our node say? Like, are we making new things or are we just sort of, like what are the different ways?
You would,
Venue of things?
we don't need this group necessarily to determine what the appropriate tool is to apply to any area. It's more help us understand what the vision is. We may try to specify some recommendations that try to get at that. And then of course it would be up to council to do it in whatever way is appropriate. I mean, there's maybe these maybe 1 or 2 of these areas deserve some kind of a zoning overlay, and it's a I don't know, some new name for a overlay that is appropriate to this area that has these additional requirements and allowances and things that kind of help it to stay a small local scale that's appropriate for Crownsville. It's probably going to be a layering of different types of things, but
Is it possible to get these slides?
oh yeah, for sure, yeah. Well, we post them on all of our slideshows. We post them on the
Right.
website every. Yeah. We'll do it, and the recording too.
This is not a question, and not a concern as much, but it is a question. The county is involved now in a big study for reassessment of HUD federal funding. And that is a part of the 5-year consolidated plan, and affordable housing is such a major issue in the county. And it was a big part of the discussion and the development of the Crownsville property. And it doesn't seem to be a part of our discussions. So it's more of just curiosity, is that HUD 5-year planning, is that a consideration for our region? And if so, does it manifest in any of the decisions that we make in zoning?
I think we're going to find out more at the March meeting where we start to get into housing. And we'll find out what ACDS has to say about the Crownsville area, or I should say Region 6 area specifically with regard to affordable housing. I wonder if Crownsville is necessarily the best place for affordable housing as opposed to, say, the Region 7 Annapolis area, or areas that are a little more connected to transit and closer to services and employment centers. You know, BWI, Odenton, that area.
Do we play a role? Our desires one way or the other? I guess that would be.
Yeah.
That meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will get into it at that meeting. Yeah.
The Annapolis one just announced they're putting apartments in. Or is there any talk about those being affordable units, or they're just gonna be?
Annapolis Mall.
Annapolis Mall?
News to me. I
They got the pickleball courts, they got, the whole thing.
Here's in the news over by Sears, it's going to be part apartments.
That's great.
Might as well, it's already listed.
But I mean, that would be an appropriate place for, I think, affordable stuff, because you could literally just not own a car that not everything is.
Yeah, and it's a whole transit center open.
Yes.
On the briefing document for the healthy economy, there were some discussion points for potential region plan recommendations. And
Yeah.
the second one was work with relevant government and other stakeholders to provide financial incentives to locally owned and operated agricultural activities to upgrade business sites and operations.
Mhm.
And I was kind of curious, are there government and other stakeholders, what type of financial incentives are you referring to in terms of government and other stakeholders?
So the Economic Development Corporation, they do have an agricultural, what is it called? They have a liaison that really is focused on the agricultural economy in the county. A lot of that, as you know, is in South County as well, but they do have programs and such that are geared toward that. I can get some more information.
Well, I was just wondering if it's the type of funding that a place like the honey place could have used? And is that the type of business that we could encourage, more agricultural related businesses along General's Highway?
Well, they have a whole, I don't know if they know, but they own, we have hives too, so we
Okay.
work with them a lot, but they have like 80 hives, they have a property. And they just, so that's.
I just like what they did with that.
No,
whole
it's
area,
beautiful.
and
They did
It was
great
impressive,
job.
and when I was reading this, I was thinking about the strip mall that has the tattoo parlor. And thinking, okay, is there money here that can be used to give these businesses financial incentives to upgrade?
Probably
That's
not
what
if they're not agriculturally focused.
So it has to be agricultural.
Yeah,
Right.
for those kind of things.
I
I can,
USDA has a ton of grant programs. Yeah, I mean, if it's ag focused, USDA has a ton.
So it
Yeah.
so it has to be ag focused. That's what I was trying to figure out, is if there's something that's more general that would be helping these strip malls to get nicer looking.
mhm. Yeah.
It's- I don't know.
I like the thinking. I don't have an answer yet.
Okay.
We'll work through it. I think where I'd like to do is maybe, let's circle back to this and start to kind of hone in on some recommendations and ideas that maybe we can put out potentially to the public and start to get some input. But the first step is for you all. So we're not there yet. We're kind of crystallizing, but we'll come back to it. This has been good. This has been helpful. Thank you. I'm gonna stop on this right now, and what's next on our agenda? I think from here we open public comment, right, Joel?
That's correct.
Which I assume we aren't gonna, do we have anybody from the public
Did have
attending? No.
someone who's like,
Here, but she left.
So I suppose we can, skip the public comment period,
everybody
but,
else online.
yeah. In terms of announcements and such, you kind of. All right, so the next meeting is going to be, February 13th. One of you had asked, is this in lieu of the 11th meeting? It is. So the 11th meeting is canceled. And the 13th would be a joint meeting with the Region 5 group. It is primarily going to be organized and pulled together by the Region 5 staff. And the focus is going to be Region 3. We're going to have folks from the Economic Development Corporation. They'll talk about sort of the land use market along the Route 3 corridor. This would be your chance to sort of think about that Millersville Road commercial node. So kind of think about it and weigh in on the conversation from the Region 6 perspective as well. I wrote 5:30 to 8:30. That is not correct. I think it's 5:30 to, I think 7:30. It has to be, we have to be out of the library by then. So it's at the Crofton Library. It'll be a little bit shorter. I don't have to say this because y'all are all on time, but definitely try to be there on time to get started quickly. And then we are going to be putting together a survey of some of what we've discussed previously with the draft environment and park strategies. We'll share that with you all to have a look at before it goes out to the public. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully in the next week or two, we'll put that under your nose and would like your input on that. Any other announcements that I'm not thinking of right now? I think that's it. If there's anything you all need from us, please feel free to, reach out. Be sure to email the Region 6 email, region6@aacounty.org. That goes to all three of us. So if somebody's out, then the other on staff will be able to get to it. Anything else?
We're just gonna ask, in light of the public comments that we got on the website about our role in the Region 5 meeting, we want to clarify what we need to, what is our role exactly in the Region 5 joint meeting so that our constituents and our friends and relatives in the area don't think that we're just going in there as bystanders, that we actually do have.
So if you attend the February meeting, it is definitely a joint meeting. I would still like to say it's not required for you all. Part of that is kind of strategically to therefore not require a quorum of this group. A meeting can't begin until we have a quorum. But I'd love for every single one of you to attend. We will be there. And it'll be important for you to be a part of that conversation. So it'll be, fully joined in that regard.
Region 5, where, so what is it called again? It's Danville's area, right?
mm,
Do we go all the way through Odenton?
Odenton, it includes Odenton and,
Up or down Crofton, yeah, how far down Route 3?
yeah, all of Crofton.
It's about 50, right?
Mhm,
50.
yeah.
So something, it'll be the
Yeah, my initial concern was that. Yeah, so it does go all the way down to Crofton and over to the PG County line, Prince George's County line. My concern was it was gonna be a transportation in Region 5 focused meeting. But it's not, it's Maryland 3 is the primary focus. So I think that this is gonna be very relevant to hear from you all.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, with that, would anybody care to make a motion to adjourn the meeting tonight?
So moved.
All in favor of adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.